What's happening, guys, and welcome back to Sliced. If it looks like I'm sweating or like squinting throughout this video, it's because it's so hot and I'm literally just dying. But yeah, today we're going to look at instant ramen. When you think of instant ramen, what do you think of? You think of college students, right? You know, that kind of typical sort of student meal. It's cheap, it's easy to make. But instant ramen actually has a very interesting history. So after World War II, there was a lot of sort of famine and, you know, food shortages around the world, and Japan was one of those countries that suffered from it. And there was an amazing man who is credited really highly in Japanese sort of culture and history to this day. His name was Momofuku Ando, and he sort of wanted to find a way that they could sort of make something cheap and easy, something that would store well so people wouldn't have to worry as much about the food issues. And so he got to working on this ramen recipe. And bear in mind, up until this point, ramen was seen as that sort of like fresh noodle based soup, and so how can you turn that into something that's really simple, instant and cheap and easy to do? And so he actually figured it out by dropping noodles into oil, and so by flash frying them, they ended up hardening and also preserved really well and were allowed to sort of be recooked once they were packaged. And so the creation of instant ramen actually came from something quite negative. It came from the sort of post-World War ramifications. While we see it today as something that's quite sort of simple and cheap, we have to see it as something that was really sort of essential to Japanese growth at the time. So I want to show you guys a little twist on ramen. I've got some spicy ramen, and what I'm going to do is make it a little bit fancier, put some egg in it, we're going to put some spring onions in it, we're going to put a really nice piece of ribeye chopped up on it. It's going to be beautiful. So we're starting off with our egg, and the key thing here is that in the time it takes to cook our egg, we will be able to achieve all the other components. It's literally a 4 to 5 minute dish. It's really quite simple. So all we're gonna do is take our egg, and what we're gonna do is put it into a pot with some cold water, and we're gonna bring it to a boil. So while that's coming up to the boil, we can sort of prepare our other stuff. So we've got our ribeye steak. I've let it dry out in the fridge overnight. You wanna pat it down dry as well. Give it a little sprinkle of whatever season you want. I'm using a mixture of salt and togarashi, which is a sort of Japanese spice blend. And then of course our main thing, which is the noodles. Now the best way that I like to do it, because I don't like to have super long noodles when I eat them. Yes, it may be wrong, but this is the way I like to do it. I really just like to take the noodles, crush it up in my hands so that they're sort of really small and fine, and then put it into my bowl, sprinkle all the seasoning on top and whatever you want. And then what I'll do is I'll bring a kettle to a boil, and I will pour the boiling water on top of the noodles until it's barely covered, and then I'll cover it with like a plate or something. This will allow the noodles to steam. One thing I hate seeing is people boiling the crap out of their noodles and then it's just a big pile of mush. Like, you want it to be nice and sort of individual and whole. You want to get that nice sort of mixture, right? While that's steaming, it will take about a few minutes. You should notice that your egg is coming to the boil, and then once you've done that, you're going to turn it down to a sort of simmer, and you're going to let it simmer for 4 minutes. This is going to get us that nice sort of creamy yolk that we're looking for. We don't want it to be so runny, we don't want it to be a hard-boiled egg. We want that nice creamy center, so that it's just this really sort of silky, buttery kind of flavor running through all that sort of spice, and it's going to be amazing. While that's happening, we're going to get a pan nice and hot, and we're going to put a little bit of oil in it, and we're just going to lay that steak away from you. Once the pan starts to smoke, this is going to form a beautiful crust. I'm not going to cook this steak a lot. I've even taken it out of the fridge cold because I don't want to really cook it all the way through. I'm actually going to try and cook it like a medium rare, sort of rare, even type of level of doneness in the middle. Because the thing is, you're about to put this steak into a boiling hot sort of ramen bowl, right? So you don't want to cook it all the way through to the level that you would normally have it at. So if it looks a little bit raw, a little bit rare, that's absolutely fine, because it's going to start to poach a bit in that sort of ramen liquid. So like I said, I'm just going to sear it on both sides for about a minute or so, not too long at all. Take it out, let it rest for a little bit. Check on your ramen. Once that's done, we can chop up our steak into sort of little cubes. As you can see, it's really pink in the middle, but that's absolutely fine because, like I said, it's going to sort of poach in that ramen liquid, so we don't want it to be too cooked. Then we have our egg, of course. I'm literally just going to crack it, peel it, and then half it. And we're going to place those beautiful egg halves into our bowl as well, topping it off with our spring onion too. When you see a dish like this, all you can say is Lord have mercy. That was absolutely amazing. It looks like one of those things straight out of an anime, you know, when they have that perfect sort of food scene. It's mad, honestly. So thank you guys so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, follow me on my socials at slice_IT on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Facebook, everything, and I'll see you next time. Bye.